Welcome to the Hoops Rehab Show on a Thursday night. How you doing, Emac?
Good, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, man. We got week 1 of the preseason NFL getting started tonight. So if you're a football fan, you know you're excited, even though most of the starters didn't play that long.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's obviously a sign that the season's here. There comes that point in the game where it's like almost unwatchable because you have obviously guys that are battling and trying to make a spot, but none of the household names are there. But at the end of the day, it's football. We get to see them for a couple of drives in some cases. So, here we are about basically a month, actually under a month from the regular season start date.
Yep. Yeah, we got a jam-packed show with some injuries that have already unfortunately happened. So we'll kind of review those, kind of go over some of the team dynamics with those injuries. But as always, everybody, I am the Game Injury Doc, a.k.a. Dr. Evan Jeffries. And on my right is Eric B. Mack. We are the host of the Hoops Rehab Show. You can find us at our handles. Please follow on all social media platforms. And then the Hoops Rehab Show has its own YouTube page. So please subscribe there where we're uploading videos. We're doing our live content and everything that goes with that. And then after the show, we will be uploading the pod in case you missed the live show. You can find that wherever you get your podcasts at the Hoops Rehab Show. But Eric, let's get it cracking. Yes, and we always want your guys' comments. So if you're on YouTube right now, if you're on Twitter, please drop some comments about anything going on in the NBA and obviously anything going on with the NFL tonight in preseason 1. All right, Eric, let's break down a little bit because I see on our first topic, it's called the Hoops Rehab Huddle. And that is the name that we will rebrand this show on. We're honestly just swapping out the show with huddle because what is a huddle? It's when you get together and you talk, and that's what teams in the NBA and teams in the NFL do. So we are trying to combine the two and get both the NBA and NFL to you and talk about the teams, talk about the dynamics, and obviously talk about some injuries. So what do you think about all that, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, Hoops Rehab Show, the name was dear to our hearts, and that's something that we didn't want to totally abandon. But at the same time, we knew we wanted to talk football, and it was a priority for us. So we wanted to add a little something in the name that would basically signify that. And huddle, hoops, collide, and here we are, super excited. We thought it would be best to kind of get it cracking with the real, I guess, like first preseason games. We know we had the Hall of Fame game about a week ago or so, but now it's on and cracking, and super excited about the rebrand and some of the nuances of the show.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is, but every NFL season, the night before the first games, you got those butterflies, you're ready for football, and you're getting totally excited. And for us, when we're on this side now doing the podcast, we are super excited to cover both sports and just really to bring our football knowledge as well as our basketball knowledge to this podcast. So a little background for me. I am from California, from LA. However, I am a Green Bay Packers fan. Why would I be?
Go Pack, go.
In the 90s, when I started liking football, there were no teams there anymore. The Raiders left us, the Rams left us, and I was watching the Super Bowl between the Packers and the Broncos, or actually Packers and the Patriots that first year. And I chose the Packers, and they won. So that became my team about 30 plus years ago. And no matter what, since the Rams and the Chargers are in LA, I still don't really root for them, and I'm repping the Packers all the way. How about you, Eric?
Yeah, gotta go with your squad. I mean, it's a similar story. I always think about like a lot of us that were around or born, or we're like around that generation where we really felt a void and didn't have a LA football team. And so, for guys like us, we've pretty much been homers on a lot of other sports, right? I think you guys know we're huge Laker fans. We like the Dodgers, UCLA, USC, right? Like, so we're diehard LA, fanatics. And so, with football, it was a little different out here, as the doc mentioned, with the Rams and the Raiders leaving us. It definitely left a void. And so I'm going to give a date to you, and it's going to signify my team. And it's kind of sad, but December 30th of 2000. What do you think that date? Anybody raising their hand?
That would be the last playoff victory for the Miami Dolphins, if I were correct.
That's right. That's right. So I'm not all about going for teams that are winning a bunch of chips. So yeah, I'm a big Miami Dolphins fan. I guess for me, I had a lot of family that was fans of theirs, and so basketball was definitely the first sport that I started following, and football was the second. And I must say, it had to, kind of similar to you, had to have been, because there wasn't a team out here, and I had a close family that, either from Miami or just really big Dolphin fans. And ever since then, Dan Marino, I've just been a big fan, and it's been some lost dark years. Things have been a little bit better the last two playoff. Well, they made the playoffs twice in a row. And last year they missed it, but they've been pretty competitive. So yeah, that's kind of, my story. Thought it would be cool for us to share. We're obviously going to talk a lot of football. We're not going to be similar to like on the hoop side, where we're going to really be hammering down Lakers. We're obviously going to trickle in some Dolphins and Packers, but yeah, just thought it would be nice for you guys to hear like who we are fans of, who we'll be rooting for next year. And, obviously we'll see what happens.
Yeah, most definitely. We're going to kind of break down a lot of our show, especially when it comes to the football. We'll probably be doing a Sunday night show to kind of recap anything that happened in that day. In particular, unfortunately, football, there are a lot of injuries. There's a lot of implications for that as far as for the team, and then also for fantasy purposes. So you're going to see a lot of breakdown of those injuries on those Sunday night shows, and kind of just get an idea of like what the injury really is and how long the timeline might be and some of the recovery process for that. So we'll be breaking down that. And then we'll also get into some fantasy, because I don't know about you, Eric, but how long you played fantasy football?
Like probably might be year 24, 25, something like that. Maybe like the year 2000, probably since the last time the Dolphins won a playoff game, maybe since then. Yeah, right? Give or take.
Not the data, but we've been playing since we've been in high school, and that was 20 plus years ago. Mm-hmm. So we definitely got some fantasy knowledge, and we've been playing the game for a long time. So we're going to give a little combination of breaking down some injuries, the impacts on the team, and then also just maybe some fantasy guidance and things like that of who to pick up and players you might want to watch out for. So we're excited to kind of get everything started with our football coverage. But let's get it cracking with what happened tonight, man. So we had the Colts and the Ravens playing tonight in a week 1 matchup for preseason. And there's been a lot of hype during the offseason about Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones pretty much going to be in a competition for starting position at that quarterback position. Now, Anthony Richardson has looked at times like he could have a lot of talent. However, he's had a lot of injuries so far in this league, and he was supposed to play about a quarter and a half kind of going into tonight, and then Daniel Jones was going to start the second game. But he was injured pretty early, and from the looks of it and the picture that we saw, he dislocated his right pinky finger, his 5th digit there. So it looks like it was a clean dislocation as far as they were able to relocate it back with no problem. Now, I would imagine he's getting an MRI just to make sure there's no ligament damage. But typically those are just joint capsule issues. So the capsule's been stretched, but it's going to take some time to heal. So as long as there's no ligament damage, I don't think this keeps him out too long. But I would imagine he might be out at least another week or two, just to let him heal.
Yeah, Colts are one of the couple teams that are going through a quarterback competition. Most teams have their quarterback solidified, and so it was definitely an intriguing one. And I would imagine the Colts brass would like a fourth pick in the draft of a couple years ago to be the one to grab this by the horn and it be his job. I'm sure that would be the preference. But it's been a challenge to keep him on the field. And here we are, week 1 of the preseason, sorry. And we're kind of in the same boat that we've been with him the last couple of years. And so with him and Daniel Jones, I think they have different assets. Like as far as like the big play, I think Anthony Richardson kind of brings that. They both can use their legs. They both have success with that. I would say maybe like the safe quarterback, if you will, is Daniel Jones. And so, but I mean, that was my mindset going into tonight. Like, I'm sure it's a competition, but if it can go one way or the other, it's like, damn, like, are we going to pick a journeyman or someone that, like I just said, was the 4th pick in the draft? The only crazy thing though is Richardson. He played 15 college. He had 15 college starts, so we didn't see a lot of him there. His NFL career, where he's had some bright spots, it's been up and down because of injuries. And so, yeah, it's interesting. The Colts have not won a opener in the regular season since 2013. So thought that was interesting. 12 straight years with losing a game in the first for the first game. Guess who they play this year? The first game.
Have
Miami.
not looked at that yet. Oh,
Miami. So speaking of the Dolphins,
it better not be the one.
Yeah, the one. That's what I'm thinking. The odds are it's going to happen. But anywho, yeah, tough blow. But because, I mean, especially when you're in a competition, like an injury is the one way that could really sway that. And so definitely tough blow. And it just tends to happen a lot with him, unfortunately.
Yeah, you make some great points with the amount of games he played in college, 15, right? And that reminds me of a draft pick a couple years ago that got a lot of hype. That would be Trey Lance, right? And that was a big knock on him, that he only played like in the past, whatever amount of years, it was like 15 games or something. It was around that similar total where they're like, well, he hasn't played a lot, so maybe him sitting out a year would be good for him because he just really hasn't played. And it kind of showed early on, and obviously he wasn't able to do anything in San Francisco. He's now moved on to Dallas and then moved down to the Chargers now. So hopefully he can, if he's getting reps or he has to come in for like a Justin Herbert at some point, hopefully right now he's at least learned something in the NFL. But it just looked like he wasn't up to par because he didn't play enough in college. And that kind of reminds me of Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, there's teams that when, they're maybe not like a clear pick, they kind of try to catch lightning in a bottle. You obviously see like the raw talent and it does attract you. And obviously most people think maybe they could develop that person enough. They want to get the next Josh Allen. Not that Josh Allen didn't have experience in the college level, but he didn't go to a huge school, right? Going to was it Wyoming, or I think it was University of Wyoming. Yeah, and so I think sometimes you try to kind of follow that path and hope that you can get somebody like him or somebody half of the talent that he's had in the NFL. But yeah, that's definitely a good comp, and so we'll see. I mean, it's still very young, and there's still a lot to be given, or a lot out there for him. And so I really, really hope he could at least stay on the field. If he stays on the field and it's like, you know what, He's not learning. He's not picking up progressions. He's not finding the open man. He's not taking the sack when he should and not throwing the ball away. That kind of stuff you would figure out. But when he's not out there, it's like, man, like it's always a question mark. Will he stay healthy? And then if he was healthy, how talented and how much, he'd mean to us. So it's pretty, will be interesting to see if he can come back in the preseason, and show out.
Yeah, you hate to lose a competition from injury, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you at least want to see him get a chance to kind of prove himself in the rest of preseason. But at this point, they might be going with the veteran to start the season to at least see if they can actually get some wins with this franchise, right? So it'll be an interesting battle down the stretch, but hopefully I don't think it's going to keep him out too long. But, it's just one of those things where it sucks to see, and let's see if he can kind of progress and be healthy for the following weeks.
Yeah, let's see. It's probably at least, Daniel Jones' now job to lose, but I got a funny feeling that those quarterbacks are going to be flip-flopping all year long. Down in Indy as they try to kind of get things in order over there in Indianapolis.
Yeah, I don't think they have their long-term solution right now, and they were hoping that would be Anthony Richardson, but I don't think they truly believe in him. Otherwise, he would have been named the starter a long time ago.
Right. Yep. And let's be honest, we know Daniel Jones very well.
Daniel Dimes?
Yeah, and I guess there have been some cases where quarterbacks have gone somewhere else and have put together, maybe a semi-decent career, a la, Baker, what's his name from Seattle that's now on the Raiders. Gosh, my mind went blank there.
Geno Smith.
Geno Smith, right?
Yeah.
Decent. So it happens. Don't get me wrong, but they are who we thought they were.
Do you remember what Max Kellerman called him a couple years ago?
Oh god. Oh, Dimes? Was it?
Yeah.
Danny Dimes? Is he the one that came up with that?
No, he called him the poor man's Lamar Jackson.
Oh, that's right.
He was like, he's essentially basically like Lamar, and I'm like, come on, man. He was, Max was a big old Giants fan, so he was gonna kind of be a homer in that situation with that. But let's see if he can kind of turn around. I do give him a benefit of the doubt because Shane Steichen is a great play caller. So if he does get a quarterback that actually can just go in there and do what he needs to do, because I think Shane likes to get the ball out quick. And that's something Anthony Richardson has a tendency to kind of hold on to the ball and run and things like that. So I think being able to initiate an offense like that might help him, and it might be a fit for him with his offense.
Could be, remains to be seen.
Yeah. And there was another injury to this game. It's one of the rookie cornerbacks on the Ravens, Bill Hall-Cone. It had a terrible knee injury, and you can kind of see his leg was bent to the other side. I don't think they really wanted to show it too much, but I did see a picture. He tore his ACL and MCL, which is going to obviously put him out for the season and not allow him to play his rookie year. So it's unfortunate to see that stuff like that already has happened, and we're only in preseason week 1.
Yeah, I mean, we know it like clockwork. We don't want to see it, but every single season, training camp, preseason, you're going to have 10 to 12 people that get hurt and are out the whole season. It just happens. And you hope that number kind of gets less and less, but I don't know what it is. It's obviously a physical sport. Things happen like that, but it's just inevitable. And that's we're already seeing that, first couple of weeks.
Yeah. That brings me to a question. What are your beliefs on preseason? Are you more in the Sean McVay camp where he's not going to play his starters at all? Or are you more in the Andy Reid camp where no matter what, he's still going to play his starters and he's gotten to the Super Bowl, 5 out of 6 years. So it's not like it's not a successful thing for him. So what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, there could be two arguments where both have been pretty successful. With the Rams being pretty consistent, not winning as much as Kansas City, of course, but so you can say that. I mean, look, I think there's special circumstances and special quarterbacks where we really don't need him out there. Stafford, I don't think Mahomes really has to be out there, but he is gonna. But I'm kind of more on the mindset that an injury can happen in practice, just like how it happens in the games, and we see it all the time, where I feel that I just you play. So there's one last game now, right? So I feel like first game, play a series or two. Second game, play maybe a quarter and a half to a half, and then that's it. And I just think that's valuable. You get reps. Your first game of the season is not kind of the de facto preseason. I think as there's more games, so we're 17 now, is going to be 18 soon, probably. I think it's going to be even more like the first couple games being a preseason. And so I'm with playing the guys. But I do understand that there's value. You already know what a lot of those guys can do, and you want to see what your depth does, because that's a big decision. We know depth is so huge. And the one way to see him play is during those games. That's why I say one game, no. One game, and then basically the second halves of the other two, just play the bench. And I think you can get enough data with practice that way. What about yourself?
Yeah, I think, for the most part, there's players like Aaron Rodgers doesn't need to play in the preseason. Yeah, some of those older quarterbacks that really don't need to be out there. But I'm more in the camp of Andy Reid, where I need to see my starters play together for a quarter and just at least get that rhythm. And then that way, you have those joint practices that you're playing pretty hard and kind of going at it there, where you can kind of get some of that feedback there. And then you're ready for week one. I know McVay has done that, but I don't think just not playing him at all is always the answer. That's just his strategy, and I understand it. But I just feel like you do have to get a rep or two from these guys, at least a script of a play or first quarter or possession, just so you guys know that you've been there before you get to week one, and it's the first half goes by and you're still trying to get your footing going in that game. So it'd be interesting to look back on how his starts have been. I haven't really looked at that stat, but I wonder how they have started out each season.
The last two have been pretty bad.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's part of an issue there too.
Yep. I don't know about, I'm sure maybe different the year out before, but I know for a fact the last two have been 1-4, 2-5-ish starts. So, could be coincidence, could be who their opponents are, things of that nature. I get it. But I know that they've come on strong. And so I'm sure that's something that they'd like to avoid, although we'll talk about it in a second here. Obviously got a big injury over there, but.
Yep. So getting into our next player topic is Rashawn Slater, which is terrible, unfortunate news for the Chargers. He went down in practice today with a knee injury, and then they reported that it was a patella rupture, which will put him out the whole season. He'll have surgery soon, and that's the type of injury that's going to keep you out for about 9 to 12 months. So he'll be able to make it back next season, but it is one of those unfortunate injuries because it's a hard injury to get back from. The only thing I would say is because he's an offensive lineman, he'll be okay with that, because usually it's harder for sprinters, people that have to change positions so quickly. I think those people have more trouble with that, getting back from a patella injury. You see it a lot in quarterbacks from the backpedaling. So you see them coming back from that. They're usually a step slower. I think on his end, he won't be too effective with that.
Yeah, tough injury. We know that the Chargers and Harbaugh are very serious about the trenches, and that's just the way he does business. Jim Harbaugh, sorry. And so he was Slater was a big. They gave him a nice deal, extended his contract, and so
number one offensive paid lineman. So
yeah, so that tells you what they think about him, and so yeah, man, these big fellas with these like leg injuries sometimes it's just like tough. And so when you say it's a full year, we know that he's going to be out next season, and obviously it puts his training camp of next year in jeopardy. And you know how that goes. It kind of takes a bit to get back into the swing of things. And so huge blow. I know they got some other guys. They drafted Joe Alt last year. So, but you can never have enough big guys up front. We know that it's what it's all about. It's in the trenches, whether if it's on the offensive line or defensive line. You win games, and it starts up front. And so, him being the highest paid O lineman in the NFL right now tells you that he is going to be a big, missing piece for the Chargers this year.
Yeah, and he plays blindside, right? He plays the left tackle, and who is he protecting? Justin Herbert. So that was a significant loss. The only saving grace is that they have Joe Alt, who played left tackle in college at Notre Dame, and he was the blind side there. So it'll be a natural position for him to move back to, and then they'll probably move another guy to that right tackle, which they were saying more than likely it'd be Trey Pipkins, the second. So it's unfortunate, but at least you have a monster in Joe Alt as well. I think it will affect maybe their skill positions a little. Like, they're going to have, they got Loud McConkey. They have the new running back, Hampton. So they had all these like skill positions that can be ready to kind of dominate this season. And when you have offensive line that is super solid on both ends, right? If you have book tackles like that, they got to be the best tackle duo in the NFL, right? Like if you think about who you're going to go against, and those are two of the top offensive line tackles that you have in the game. So it's unfortunate, but that is football, and they always have depth for that, and there'll be somebody that steps up. Yep.
It's that one position that you really, really need depth, because it's just inevitable that people go in and out. And so we'll see. It's just unfortunate that it happened so early. And so I guess now, for the Chargers' sake, I guess they have some time to kind of, maybe game plan around that, maybe try to obviously pick up guys that are, maybe waived after training camp and things of that nature. But yeah, we'll see if they're as dominant up front as it would have been anticipated with Slater there.
Yeah. And the other thing is, what do you think of the Chargers this year? Do you think I know they had a pretty good year. They made a pretty good significant jump last year with Jim Harbaugh. Do you think they make that next transition, and the next step to kind of be maybe division winners there?
So the Chargers, they're in a very tough division. So they are in a division with three other coaches that are Super Bowl winning coaches. They obviously Raiders have had some challenges. Broncos kind of came out of nowhere last year. And then there's the Chiefs. So I think they'll improve. And it's just because wherever Jim Harbaugh goes, that's what happens in year two. And pretty much actually right away, they paid dividends. They made the playoffs last year, which they had some success making the playoffs in years past too. But I feel like the Chargers are kind of like the Chargers are going to charge type of like team, Clippers are going to clip, Chargers are going to charge.
Who do they remind you of?
The team down the hall ish in a way, the old man crew. Actually, yeah, technically right next door. So, but could be a little different with Harbaugh. And so I have to see it first, but I would imagine they'll be right in the running for a wild card. Kind of like they were last year.
Yeah, definitely the best head coach division by far in the NFL, with everybody being Super Bowl winners there. So, that every game in the division is going to be tough, right? Anytime play at Denver, at KC, at the Raiders, is just Raiders and Chargers obviously have a huge rivalry. So every game, no matter what, is always a big game.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. Yeah, and you got Pete Carroll coming in against Harbaugh, which would be pretty phenomenal as well. So it's going to be an interesting year for that division. But it looks like that you could definitely have 3 out of 4 of those teams getting in the playoffs. So.
Yeah, Pete Carroll and Harbaugh reminds me of, they were facing each other with USC and Stanford, like in the 2000s. And so they had a little bit of a rivalry there. So it's a bit of a rivalry restored. So yeah, that's going to be a fun division to watch. And hopefully this injury doesn't derail the season of the Chargers.
That's for sure. And then let's get into the other team in LA, the LA Rams, and Matthew Stafford, who has been out all of training camp with they call it a low back injury, but they also recently said a disc injury. So the first thing when I heard this was like when I heard just low back pain or stiffness, I wasn't too concerned. I felt like they were keeping him out at precaution. And then when you heard the disc part, that's when you start going, all right, now is he having pain down the leg at all? Is the pain just in his back? Is there any other issues that he's having? Does he have a herniated disc? Right? They're not really saying that, but they're just saying a disc injury. So he is 37 years old, right? And he's been playing for quite some time. So what are your thoughts? Are you concerned with Matthew Stafford? I know he's always been a tough quarterback and a warrior out there and plays through most injuries, but are you concerned with his age and this injury?
I am. I mean, I listen to a lot of LA local media. And so the last few weeks, you can tell like it's been kind of really held to the chest, kind of what this injury is, and really not thinking that it's very serious and just kind of like, oh, we should be fine. But when you hear kind of what it is, it's got to be a bit concerning. I know, I believe McVay came out today and said if there was a regular season game today, he'd be in there. And so I guess that's encouraging. But anytime you're dealing with a veteran that has had some, injuries in the past, but who is so crucial to this team. Let me be frank. Rams have a lot of upside. They got a lot of young talent. They were one play away from making the NFC Championship game last year and possibly making the Super Bowl, which gives me the thought that they may get there this year. But they're going to need a healthy Matthew Stafford for that to even come close to happening. And right now we don't have that. And so we'll see if he can get by, 17 games, 18-week schedule, 4 or 5 week playoffs. So be it. But I'm definitely a bit concerned.
That is so true, though. They're one play away from getting to the Super Bowl and in a snow game, right? Which is like, obviously they probably would prefer to play in LA in the dome.
Right.
But yeah, and they added Devontae Adams, right? So when you look at this team as a whole, added Devontae Adams, they still have Puka. They signed Kyron Williams to an extension. So they have the veteran
good young defense,
linemen, great young defense, right? They have some great players there. So that's another year of them together. So they could be the favorites in the NFC to kind of get out and kind of be the surprise, maybe to get to the Super Bowl if you're kind of discounting Philly and things like that. So they're going to need a healthy Stafford. I'm concerned when they say disc because that's something that just doesn't go away overnight. It's something that has to be maintained. So the thing about him is he could probably return to practice and he could probably play a game right now. How long is he going to be able to play throughout the season? It's all about in football is the amount of hits they take every week.
He takes
How does your body feel on Tuesday? How does it feel on Wednesday? How does it feel when you're up to week 6 when you keep taking those hits, right? So I think they got to at least rely on their running game and get him some breathers where he's not taking a lot of hits and things like that. So, hopefully he's able to manage it. And it's something that he's probably dealt with in the past since they said he aggravated a disc means it's not something new, right? It's something that he's had probably for a little bit of time and it might be coming with his age as well too.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's one thing to say, if the regular season was right now, he'd play. But like you said, week 6, 7, 8, after taking, 3 or 4 sacks each game, that'll be telling. And so I got a feeling one way or the other, he's not going to be playing the 17. I don't think they need him for the 17. I think if there's a time where they just, he's got to sit out a couple of games. I mean, who their backup is, but Jimmy G, and so he might be serviceable for a game or two, I think. But yeah, they're gonna need Stafford. And man, I hope he's healthy, because it's the Rams are a fun watch, and I'd like to see them, face the Eagles again, or whomever comes out at the NFC, and kind of have a rematch there, because that was a really good game.
Yeah, so hopefully he stays healthy for the whole season. But yeah, it's a little concerning when you kind of see how long he's been out already. Oh, bless you.
Thank you.
Wanted to get to this comment right here before we kind of wrap up the show. We got Cam Miller. The Bills would trade Cook. Well, I know he is kind of on he's showing up, but he obviously wants to get paid, and he saw Kyren Williams get paid, so that probably helped his argument of, he's definitely the better player, so he should probably get a little bit more than what he got. Yeah. I don't think the Bills are not going to trade him. The way the NFL works is they can franchise players. They really don't have to trade them. It's kind of like the whole Micah Parsons fiasco is. I doubt the Cowboys are going to trade Micah Parsons. They don't have to. If they wanted to, they can franchise him next year and the year after, right? So it's one of those things in football. It's a business, and they'll play hardball. I think they'll eventually will pay him, because running backs, and to be honest, they don't make that much. Like if they gave him $40 million, I think they would be okay with that. So we'll see. Yeah. I think he'll be fine, and he'll be on his way with the Bills. What's your thoughts?
I mean, there's always a few players, and I know the running back position, it's kind of a little sensitive in terms of like what they should get paid. But yeah, when someone recently signs a contract and you kind of feel like maybe you're more talented, or you've produced a little bit more, you have a little bit of leverage. But honestly, like NFL, different from, I would say, like baseball, where I think the players kind of like hold a lot of weight. I think in the NFL, it's very much ownership, organizations that really do. I think Micah Parsons, I compare it to Myles Garrett, who came out and said he wanted to get traded. And it's like, oh, where's he going to go? Like, what's a good spot for him? And then he ends up, becoming the highest, paid defensive player, right? And so I presume that is something that's going to happen with Parsons as well. Cook, we'll see. I figure they're going to probably try to get sure something up, but running backs are expendable. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's just a different age for running backs, and they are coming back in vogue, though. I would say there was a couple years where, man, you really didn't have to pay a running back, and you can draft anybody and can pretty much plug and play them. But, with Saquon going to the Eagles and really showing the importance of having a running back, and there's a lot of backs out there right now that are super uber talented. It's definitely a position that you have to have. They're just kind of undervalued when it comes to money, because receivers are making a ton of money right now. So,
yeah, it always goes in cycles. Yeah, I mean, if Saquon Barkley wasn't on the Eagles last year, they definitely don't win it. And so I think he shows that. I mean, your top 3, 4, 5 running backs, I think, are going to consistently be paid. It's just that like second crop of running backs, that's where it's going to get tricky. And so guys like James Cook are part of that. And so we'll see. I'm sure they'll figure something out. But thanks, Cam.
Definitely, most definitely. All right. So that kind of wraps up our first real show strictly on football. Obviously, we'll get into hoops when the news breaks of anything, but it was more, let's get into this week one and kind of break down some of the stuff that we're going to be doing throughout the season, so you guys understand the format and flow of the show. Eric, you have anything else to add?
Other than it was pretty cool to talk football, and so it's going to be pretty nice to kind of flip-flop and get you breaking news, and trying to give a little bit of our intellect when it comes to football, and it's going to be a fun season.
For sure. All right. So for the hoops rehab huddle, we are
That's right.
out. We'll see you guys soon. We'll have a show on Sunday. But until then, peace out, guys.
Peace out. Huddle up.